absolutely thrilled to have a very special guest on the podcast, a man who needs no introduction, but I'll give him an awesome one anyways. Hal Elrod, how are you today, Hal?
Norm, man, it is so good to talk to you. It's been years since we've seen each other, but it's great to be in your presence right now.
It has, yeah. We connected back in Sacramento back in the day, and I think you were just sort of cutting your teeth and actually had the Yo Pal Hal. I remember that was the branding, huh?
Yeah, that's funny. That was the nickname my mom gave me when I was a radio DJ at age 15, and it stuck with me for quite a few years. And then I went away from it for a while, and I thought, I don't want to be Yo Pal Hal, and now I tell that story every time I give a keynote message, kind of in tribute to my mom, and always will. So
yeah, well, and it's apropos because you are sort of like everyone's best friend. But since we connected back in the day in Sacramento, you've been a busy man. You're of course the author of the Miracle Morning book and program, which is an international bestseller, translated into 27 languages. You have 500,000 people at least following your Miracle Morning program. And what I love best about you is your mission is to elevate the consciousness of humanity. It doesn't get any better than that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I never imagined that, all of the things I've experienced in life, from the hardships to the successes to the impact that my work's making, like it all is, people ask, like, was this your plan? I go, no, I'm not a planner. Like, I just wake up and just do something good. I just wake up and take another step forward. And so to look back and go, wow, it's wild the way life kind of unfolds. I think it is for all of us.
Yeah. And, with you, a lot of, your step forward has been just trying to survive. So for the people who aren't aware, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and what sort of you've gone through?
Yeah. As you're asking that question, I just thought about what I'm going through right now, and I've never really talked about this openly. So we'll get to that. The first major adversity I had when I was 20 years old, my car, I was on the freeway going, 70 miles an hour here in the United States. And my car was hit head on by a drunk driver going 70 to 80 miles per hour. And I spun off the drunk driver. Another car hit me from behind, in my car door, my driver's side door, and being crushed by two cars. My car was crushed and it broke 11 bones. My leg broke in half. My femur broke, and that was the bone that broke in half. My pelvis broke in 3 places, and I was found dead at the scene. I died for 6 minutes, was in a coma for 6 days, flatlined twice in that coma, and came out of the coma to face this devastating reality and be told by doctors that I would never walk again. So that's what I call kind of my first rock bottom, like the first lowest point in my life where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening to me. How am I going to overcome this? And through that, I learned a lot, and I wrote my first book called Taking Life Head On. And then fast forward about 8 years. So I was 20 years old when the car accident happened. Right around 27, the U.S. economy crashed back in 2007, 2008. That's when you and I think, right around the time we had met.
Yeah.
And I crashed with it. I lost over half of my clients and lost over half my income. My house was foreclosed on. I went into a deep kind of depression and was really scared, and nothing I was doing was working. And I developed a morning ritual called the Miracle Morning, and it turned my life around very quickly and in every way, physically, financially, mentally, and emotionally. And I wrote a book called The Miracle Morning and published a few years later. And that is what, as you mentioned, is now been read by 2 million people around the world, and sharing that message. And then most recently, or very recently, 3 years, actually, I just had my 3-year anniversary. I was diagnosed with a very rare aggressive form of cancer. And I was given a 20 to 30% chance of surviving.
Oh my God.
And that's hard for anybody. But, if you're a parent, the idea that, I had a 7-year-old at the time. My daughter was 7. My son was 4. And to be told by the doctors that, translating in my head that there's a 70 to 80% chance that I'm going to die in the next few months and leave my uh, my kids without a dad and my wife without a husband.
Mm.
And that was by far the scariest thing I'd ever gone through. And by applying the best of Western and Eastern medicine, I'm grateful to say that, 3 years later, I am cancer free. I'm still undergoing chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And that leads us to the most recent challenge that I'm facing right now and working my way through. And this is the one I haven't really talked about because it's so new.
Mm.
But the chemotherapy that I've been taking, the cumulative effects over the last few years, it's starting to wreak havoc on my brain and my mental health and my emotional health. And for the last few months, it's been getting really, really bad to the point where I've been feeling, I've had anxiety, like extreme anxiety I've never faced before. Social anxiety where I can't be around my friends. Like I go hide in bedrooms when we're in social. I mean, it just, and I've been deeply depressed. I've had these dark suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
And the other day I was meditating, trying to work through this. And, and the thing is, there's nothing wrong in my life. Like that's the weirdest part is like, my wife is good. My business is good. But I'm falling apart inside. And I had this epiphany through this meditation and kind of prayer I was doing. And I went, this is my fourth rock bottom, right? Yeah. There was the car accident was the first rock bottom. The second was the car accident led to the first book. The second one led to the second book, The Miracle Morning. The financial collapse led to the second book. The third one, the cancer, I didn't mention, but it led to The Miracle Equation, which is my most recent book. And these mental health issues that I never thought I would deal with. Yeah. But so many people are around the world. I'm writing a book right now called The Miracle Life, and I didn't know that until the other day that this mental health, these challenges I'm facing right now, that so many people are facing, is kind of the next frontier that I'm tackling, and I'm in the middle of it right now. And I'm committed to get through this in a positive, proactive way as I did all the others, so that I can lead other people through their own challenges with depression or, just being happy or whatever it may be, so that we can all experience joy in every moment, because I think that's what life's really about.
Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing that. It's unbelievable in that, the depression and anxiety, I know yours is, like you said, compounded by the chemotherapy and stuff, but you're absolutely right. So many people go through that, and that's really the next frontier evolution of medical care, self-care, healthcare is really what's on the inside. And our, as humanity, society in America, we face higher levels of stress and anxiety than ever before. So it's, you going through this is devastating, and, definitely, giving you thoughts and prayers and a shoulder to cry on and a big hug. And, I need it too sometimes, but I think immediately as the person you are, that you're going through this, I instantly think of how many millions of people you're going to help by being authentic with what you're going through and transparent and, proving a model of how people could deal with it.
Well, thank you. And that actually that uplifted me the other day when I realized that, because I've gone through this before. Although I'm really ready to stop going through shit.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Think of other people.
Yeah. You're like, all right, okay, I get it. I understand my purpose on life.
I thought the cancer was the last one. But I did I've got a couple of kind of, I guess you would call them spiritual coaches, advisors, a couple that I've been chatting with regularly. And, they've kind of said, Hal, it's time for you to impact others through joy. Like let's let this thought be the last, major, hurdle. So who knows what life has in store in the future.
Yeah. Hey, you're doing the best with what you got, and that's all anyone could do. Right. And really, when we all zoom out and we look at the big picture, when we look at meaning, oh my God, the rest of my life, my work, my relationships, what I think my life should look like, it puts so much pressure and stress. But when you break down today, and even better this morning, and you're like, okay, I can breathe, I'm here. I have, I could be grateful about a lot in my life instead of thinking negative. So a lot of those are elements of the Miracle Morning. So why don't you talk a little bit about that Miracle Morning program and how it's, set up to help people?
Yeah, so the Miracle Morning came for me 2007, 2008. I was 2007, I think. I had spent 6 months in this downward spiral where the economy was crashing and I was losing client after client after client because their business was affected by the economy, and then they couldn't afford to pay me as their coach. That's how I made my income, was through business coaching, sales coaching, life coaching, that sort of thing. And so after this 6 months of just nothing getting better, and now my house is in foreclosure, a series of events led me to go on a run. I hated running, but a friend of mine said, "What do you hate worse, running or your circumstances?" He said, "You need to get clarity. You need to get oxygen and blood to your brain, exercise every morning." This is my friend John Berghoff. And he said, "And while you have that blood and oxygen flowing to your brain and you're thinking more clearly and you're feeling better, and the endorphins, the serotonin, all the things that are being released from that run," he said, "listen to a self-help audio, or a business audio book, something that will help you." And on this very first run, which I was resistant to because I thought, man, I'm not a runner. I hate running. And, and I should be at home working, but obviously the working I was doing wasn't working. And I heard this quote from Jim Rohn, and I'll share this because this quote is a fundamental philosophy in my life now. In fact, this quote in a lot of ways saved my life. And that is, your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
Yep.
Because success is something you attract by the person you become.
Yep.
And I'll say that again. Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development because success is something you attract by the person that you become. I think most of us have bought into the lie that if I want to achieve more, I need to do more. I need to work harder. I need to work longer hours. And that's a scarcity mindset. And the other end of the coin is, well, no. If you actually dedicate time every day to become more, not do more, but become more, become a better version of yourself, elevate your consciousness, right? Learn more about how you can be more effective in all the things that you do and just as a human being. What you find is when you become more, you can actually achieve more by doing even less.
Yeah.
Because you're doing the right things. And so the way that I quantified it, and I think this will be helpful for most people, is if you and I, Norm, or if anybody listening is measuring success in any area of life on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being ultra successful, the best you've ever been, the happiest you've ever been, the wealthiest you've ever been, or a 1, which is the worst. And most of us want level 10 success, right? Nobody is like, I think everybody, human beings, we all want life to be as good as it can. But this is what I realized in that moment, hearing that quote from Jim Rohn. I went, I'm not dedicating time every day to becoming a level 10 person that is capable of achieving and sustaining level 10 success. So I ran home that day and I went, I'm going to create the most extraordinary, effective, like the best personal development ritual of all time so that I can, as quickly as possible, become the person that I need to be to create the levels of success that I really want to turn my life around.
Yeah.
And I went on a Google search. I just started searching like best personal development practices, personal development of millionaires, of billionaires, I just was looking for what's the best practice for personal development. I was looking for one practice. And what ended up happening is I'm taking notes as I'm looking and searching online, and I'm reading articles on entrepreneur.com and Oprah.com and Huffington Post and Inc.com, and I'm different blogs. I'm searching for the best single personal development practice, and I end up with a list of 6. And the list that I had, I almost dismissed it because none of these things were new. And there's a problem there for most of us. We have been conditioned, our society, we've been conditioned with the idea that we need, if we want to change our lives, it's something new. We need the new app, the new iPhone, the new thing, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is that it's not anything new. There are no new ideas. The thing that made people successful 100 years ago or what will make them successful today. And these 6 practices are timeless.
Yeah.
And They are here you go. Meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and journaling. And if you study the world's most successful people, Norm, in any walk of life, whether you're talking about gold medal Olympian athletes, or you're talking about, CEOs or billionaires, or just happy moms, right? Just people that are living life to the fullest, and they are living the life that they want on their terms. You find that these are the practices that the world's most successful and fulfilled people have sworn by since, I don't know, hundreds of years, since before you, I, or anyone listening were here. And as I almost dismissed these practices, because I'd heard of them all, right? I'm like, well, these aren't new. I've tried meditation. I've tried all this, right?
Yeah.
I went, wait a minute. I don't do these consistently. And then here was the epiphany, Norm. I went, well, which of these is the best? Which one should I do? And then the epiphany was, what if I did all of these? What if I woke up tomorrow morning and I did the 6 most timeless, proven personal development practices in the history of humanity? I woke up the next morning, I meditated for 10 minutes, I did 10 minutes of affirmations, I visualized for 10 minutes, I exercised for 10 minutes, I read for 10 minutes, and I journaled for 10 minutes. And that recipe, that formula, I felt incredible. Even though my bank account was still negative, my house was in foreclosure, I had this level of optimism where if I do this every day, it's only a matter of time. And within 2 months, I doubled my income, more than doubled my income, from $5,000 a month to $12,000 a month. I went from being in the worst shape of my life physically, having not exercised in 6 months since I canceled my gym membership, to committing to run a 52-mile ultra marathon, which I completed 6 months later.
Wow.
And my depression went away.
Yeah.
And I felt a sense of responsibility to share it with the world, so I started writing a book. And I thought, if anybody reads this book and it changes their life, it will be time well, that will be good enough for me. I never imagined the Miracle Morning would become what it's become, which is it's been translated into 37 languages. It's sold over 2 million copies. It still sells about 10,000 copies a month, and it's word of mouth. I'm not marketing it. I hardly do interviews anymore or anything. So the point is, if you want to improve your life, any area of your life, you want to be a better parent, you want to make more money, you want to start a business, you want to write a book, whatever you want, this Miracle Morning practice is universal because you filter whatever your goals and outcomes are through the Miracle Morning, and you accelerate how quickly you become the person that is deserving, worthy, and capable of achieving everything that you want. And that's what the Miracle Morning is. It's been for me and for millions of people around the world.
That's unbelievable. That's beautiful. I mean, everything you said. And one key that I want to underline there is consistency, right? And that's, as a society, what we're so lacking, right? You said the new thing is, we're lining up at the new restaurant. We want the new hack. We want the new weight loss pill. We want the new iPhone. And then we also, if something, we'll start a new exercise program. If we don't see the results in 10 days, then we quit it. We're so, short term with all these things. So talk a little about the consistency of the Miracle Morning.
Yeah, so that a really good point. I talk about that in the book. The final chapter of the Miracle Morning is called the Miracle Morning 30-Day Challenge. And when I was writing that, the question I always ask is, what's going to prevent somebody from doing this? And because if you don't address that, and that's where a lot of books I think fall short, is they tell you what to do, but they don't tell you what's going to likely to get in the way of you doing what they're encouraging you to do.
Okay.
And then those things get in the way. Those obstacles show up, right? And you're not prepared to deal with them, and so you throw in the towel.
Yeah.
And human beings, right, we're terrible at consistency. No offense, I'm a human being with you. And so, meaning, I'll give you New Year's resolutions, I think, is one of the best examples.
Yep.
If you go to the gym, right, the first week of January, it's packed. If you go there the last week of January, it's not so packed. And you go there mid-February, nobody's there. It's the same as it was in December, right?
Yeah.
Because we have the best of intentions, but nobody, think about that. It should be at least a class in school, if not every semester, It's not part of every class. Teaching us how to actually do the things that we need to do when we need to do them, regardless of how we feel in the moment. So, in fact, when I do a lot of, I do different work with my community and clients and this and that, and I often survey, I ask, what is the number one thing that you need help with? And consistently, ever since I've been doing this work for 10 years, it's always, how do I get myself to do what I know that I need to do to create what I want in my life, right? And so I'm going to give you how to do that. Number one is you have to realize that you have to realize what's preventing you. And there's a lot of things. We can't cover them all, but I'll give you one. Sure. Human nature is one of the biggest things that holds us back from doing the things that we need to do. Here's why. Go back to our, caveman days, right? Yep. What our DNA, we are programmed to survive and rest. Like, think about that. When you were, going back way back in time, we were hungry, so we got out and we went out and we found vegetables, or we hunted meat, killed the buffalo. But then once we did that, we went back to the village and we rested. We enjoyed our life with our family, and maybe that buffalo meat would last 6 months. Yeah. There was no leaderboard. There was no monetary system. We weren't trying to be the best buffalo killer. We weren't trying to buy a bunch of stuff that we don't need because the media promotes, consumerism. We were doing it to survive. Yeah. And then once we had what we needed to survive, then it was about rest. It was about enjoyment. It was about connection with people that we love, right? Yep. But you look at today, it's this monetary system that was created, centuries ago that we actually think is normal. It's not normal, and that's a whole other conversation. We won't open that can of worms, right? But that we think is normal. So we spend our lives not with our loved ones at a job that most of us don't even love, right? But that's the thing. That's the game we're playing, and unless we're going to switch it, let's just play it the best that we can, and let's enjoy it. So here's the point, though. If you understand that your DNA fundamentally is to survive and rest, it's not to achieve. It's not to keep working and working and working and working and working and working. But that's the game that we're playing. So if you understand that, then you have to go, oh, okay. So my DNA is to survive and rest. So that means if I want more in my life, more abundance, more money, more success, more health, you have to override the basic minimalism that you are programmed to achieve in your life. Mm-hmm. And how do you do that? Well, number one is obviously getting clear on what it is that you want. Mm-hmm. And then number two is getting clear on what it is that you need to do to get what you want. I know this isn't anything fancy or rocket science, but it shouldn't be. Yeah. But then here's the tip. Here's the strategy. The strategy is you've got to make a commitment to the behavior that will get you what you want. And to follow through with that commitment, I'll give you two strategies. Number one is do a 30-day challenge. Yep. Now, there's a lot of different schools of thought on how long it takes to create a new habit. The old school is 21 days, which I believe was established in the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, I think back in the 60s. Mm-hmm. And that's been perpetuated, through blogs and other books for decades. Recently, The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan quoted a Harvard study that said it takes 66 days to create a habit. Wow. Now, I believe a lot in what we believe is reality. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and I've successfully changed or created lots of habits in 30 days, and I've coached a lot of people to do the same. So I'm going to tell you 30 days. If you want to do it in 21, great. If you want to do it in 66, that's fine. Yeah. I'm going to tell you 30 days. So define the behavior change and commit. And now here's the second part of the strategy. The first part is a 30-day challenge, knowing that whatever feels difficult now, whatever is out of your comfort zone now, 30 days from now, if you do it every day, it'll be a part of you. You'll be acclimated to it, whether it's waking up early, not smoking, not drinking Diet Coke, eating a salad every day, whatever it is. Yeah. If you do it consistently, even if it's not every day, 5 out of 7 days for the next 4 weeks, you're going to be a different person in terms of what feels comfortable to you. The second part of the strategy is you've got to establish accountability.
Yeah.
Unless you can hold yourself accountable to make the change, which you probably would have already made it if that was the case, right? You've got to have someone else that holds you accountable. It could be a friend, a colleague, an accountability partner. It could be a public commitment. That's what I did when I committed to run the 52-mile ultra marathon.
Yeah.
I put it on Facebook and I said, hey, everybody, I'm committing publicly. I'm giving you my word. I will run this race on this date for this charity, and I will check in with you every Sunday to tell you my miles and how I'm running, right? So I made a public declaration and a commitment. Now, I could have not followed through, but for me, I value my integrity, and I would have felt like a real jerk to say, hey, I'm going to do this, everybody, but then not do it. So whatever the accountability is for you, maybe it's hiring a coach. Maybe it's talking to your boss, maybe, right? So you find the person or the group of people, but you've got to have a source of, I would say, at least weekly accountability. Someone you check in with that knows what you're committed to, and you've given your word to them.
Yeah.
So that's it. And in the Miracle Morning, I go in depth on how to do exactly that. I give you different sources of accountability. I literally give you word for word scripts on how to reach out to different people, what you could post on Facebook. Like, I try to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to make those changes in your life, which first change, the big change is I got to wake up a little earlier, 30 minutes earlier, 60 minutes earlier, and do these 6 practices, which the last thing I'll say on this is these are the savers. These 6 practices I organized into an acronym so you don't forget them. SAVERS. The first S is for silence. That's your meditation or your prayer time in the morning. It could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever works for you. The A for affirmations, the V for visualization, the E for exercise, the R for reading, and the final S, originally it was journaling, but the acronym SAVERJ didn't work. So journaling became scribing, which is a fancy word, or pretentious word, for journaling. So those are the 6 practices. You could do them in any order. You could do each of them for any time frame. You can do some longer. There's a whole chapter in the Miracle Morning book on customizing the Miracle Morning to fit your lifestyle. It's not a one-size-fits-all option. You can make it however you want it to be.
Oh, that's awesome. That's such powerful stuff. It's really the keys to unlock the things people want in life, and you give people those keys with the Miracle Morning. How about, I know you wrote the Miracle Morning for real estate agents, and so that's fascinating. Yeah. Of course, I'm in real estate and mortgage marketing. So how do these things translate for real estate agents in the Miracle Morning for realtors? And how does this benefit the average crazy, stressed, time depleted, up and down roller coaster entrepreneur who's a realtor?
Yeah, here's how that happened. Real quick, just a quick, 60-second backstory. One of my friends bought 100 copies of Miracle Morning when it came out, and he sent it to the top real estate team leaders around the country. And then it spread like wildfire through all of their teams and the real estate community. So I believe of any single profession, I don't have data on this, but I believe that the real estate agents do the Miracle Morning more than any single profession. So it's kind of cool, right? Yeah. And I speak at more real estate events probably than any other individual profession. Being a real estate agent, and I've never been one, but I interact with a lot of them through my message, my speeches. Being a real estate agent is a stressful job, right? And I was in direct sales, so very, very similar. Calling on prospects, right? Not having a guaranteed paycheck, working on 100% commission. So I haven't been a real estate agent exactly, but that was very similar to what I did for a living for 6 years. Yeah. So the thing about that is what it requires is that profession requires more of what I just talked about than most professions. Yep. Meaning, and any sales profession, meaning if our human nature is to do the minimum needed to survive and rest, well, when you're a realtor, you're self-employed, right? So this really goes for anybody that's self-employed. You're not nobody's looking over your shoulder. You're not sitting in an office all day with somebody checking your time, right? Making sure you're clocking in, clocking out, and making your calls, right?
Yeah.
You have to be self-reliant. And because of that, it requires more discipline, more focus, and more consistency than the average person.
Mm.
So with that, the Miracle Morning provides that for you. And here's what I'm talking about. We haven't covered this yet, but what is his name? Steve Pavleen. I think Steve Pavleen. He wrote the book Personal Development for Smart People.
Okay.
And he has a blog with like 20 million users. He said that very simple. And this might not be his original quote, but he said, "If you win the morning, you win the day."
Yep.
Real simple.
Yep.
Think about this. How you start your day sets the tone, the direction, and the context for the rest of your day, both internally and logistically. So meaning, how do most people start their day? They start their day with procrastination and resistance. The alarm clock goes off, and instead of waking up with poise, with purpose, with being proactive, most people hit the snooze button as many times as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And so they're literally procrastinating and resisting the act of waking up. Well, what is that doing to you psychologically? Think about it. We all have these big goals and dreams, but the alarm goes off, and you're subconsciously, you're going, well, I know I say I want to be very successful, but not as bad as I want to lay here unconscious for 9 more minutes.
Yeah.
And then you finally get up at the last minute to not lose your job, have your children taken away, get divorced, whatever, right? I call that a mediocre morning, not a miracle morning. And at that point, now you're rushing through the day. You don't have time to meditate and get centered and lower your cortisol levels, aka your stress levels.
Yeah.
You don't have time to recite affirmations that focus you on the most important things that you need to be, that you need to do, so that you can have everything you want in your life. You don't have time to do what Olympians and professional athletes do, which is visualization, to go through a movie in your mind of your perfect day so that you create an emotional experience inside of you that allows you to be the person that you need to be the rest of the day to execute on those things that will give you the day you just visualized.
Yeah.
You don't have time to do 5 or 10 minutes of exercise to get the blood and oxygen flowing to your brain. You don't have time to read 5-10 pages out of a book that will teach you a new idea that you can implement to take your level of success to the next level. And you don't have time to journal what you're grateful for, what you're committed to do that day on your to-do list of all the things. What are the top 3? That practice in the morning, that as you'll read in the Miracle Morning book, you can do in as little as 6 minutes. There's a whole chapter of the 6-minute Miracle Morning where you do the savers 1 minute each on those days you're rushed, or do them longer. But the point is, that's what the Miracle Morning gives to you as a real estate agent every single day. It puts you in a peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state first thing in the morning so that you become the person that you need to be to create everything that you want for your life, and that includes your business.
That's amazing. And you've seen I know you get crazy amounts of messages and letters and, videos and testimonials and just heartfelt people crying their eyes out saying, thank you, and you've changed my life. And with real estate, I'm sure you get even more than those. So what are 1 or 2 of your favorite, little stories of transformation from someone who used the Miracle Morning?
Yeah, it's really, it's hard to pick one, but well, you know what? I'll give you one that most people in the real estate community know. Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? I think it's sold 26 million copies now around the world. And I got to speak at an event that Robert was the headline keynote speaker, and I was his warm-up act. And but before we spoke, so he hadn't seen me, I hadn't seen him, I got to have dinner with him and the 6 other founders of this mastermind event that we were speaking at. And I had brought a copy of the Miracle Morning and signed it to him because I'm a huge fan of his work, and I wanted to give him a copy. And the whole time I'm going to dinner and I'm sitting there, and it's under the table in my computer bag. and I'm talking myself kind of out of it. I'm going, he's not going to read, he's worth $80 million.
Yeah.
He's as successful as they come. I know from his work, or listening to him, he reads a ton. He's not going to read. He's read every book out there.
Yeah.
He's not going to read my little self-published Wake Up Early book, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then, that whole, we miss all the shots we don't take. I hear that. And thank God that whoever said that, thank God that went in my head. Maybe John Wood, not who said it, but I went, all right, well, he may never read it, but it doesn't hurt to give it to him.
Sure.
And so I pulled the book out and I said, Robert, your work has changed my life, and here you go, right? And I signed the book for him. And I get an email 3 weeks later from his assistant. She says, Robert has read your book 3 times. And my jaw dropped right there. Because I went, what? 3 times? Oh my, right?
Yeah.
And it's changed his life. He is doing the Miracle Morning with his wife almost every single day. And he'd like to interview about it on Rich Dad Radio.
Wow, and that's crazy.
I'm like, I'm like, it was surreal, right? And so I go on Rich Dad Radio. Robert's interviewing me. He spends most of the interview selling the Miracle Morning. He's like, Hal, everybody, you need to get this book. Like it's as if I paid him, to have it. And I'm going to tell you what he said at the end of the interview. I'm going to paraphrase. I don't remember it word for word, but basically he said it in a way I had never thought of it. And Robert said, again, to paraphrase, he said, Hal, before the Miracle Morning was written, before you wrote this book, if you were to go back through history and study the world's most successful people in all walks of life, he said, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that did not swear by at least one of the savers.
Yeah.
And attribute their success to one. He goes, now, maybe it was all they did was meditate, right? But that meditation gave them clarity. It allowed them to think clearly, to make great decisions, to access their creativity, to access infinite intelligence, right? And that led to the major changes they made in the world, right?
Yeah.
He said maybe somebody else's visualization, maybe somebody else, it was their journaling practice, whatever. He said, but before the Miracle Morning, I had never heard of anyone, myself included, he said, that practiced all 6, and I believe he used the term, of these ancient best practices.
Yeah. Wow.
And he said, I now do all 6 of the savers every day. And he said, and my life is changing faster. And by the way, it's crazy. When you see him in the Miracle Morning movie, the documentary, which he filmed around that time, he is very heavy. Meaning he was very heavy. He had put on a significant amount of weight. And he's lost all of that weight. He's in the best shape of his life. And I've heard him say from stage, it is because of the Miracle Morning.
Wow.
So I'll wrap up with this. When I created Miracle Morning, I was in debt. I was depressed. I was in the worst shape of my life physically, right? And it changed my life. Robert Kiyosaki, other than physically, success-wise, he was, I think he was worth $80 million when he read the Miracle Morning. So whether you are at rock bottom like I was, or you're worth $80 million, or anywhere in between, the Miracle Morning is universally applicable, right, for anybody. And it starts out with waking up a little bit earlier and starting your day with dedicating time to your personal development. Whether or not you do the Miracle Morning, or you just wake up a half an hour earlier and read for 15 minutes and exercise for 15 minutes, that's the Miracle Morning. I'm here to tell you, I'm not trying to sell you. You don't have to buy the book.
Yeah.
You don't have to read the book. You just need to wake up, not because you have to wake up at the last minute, but wake up a little earlier because you want to dedicate time to your personal development so you can become the person that you need to be to create everything you've ever wanted for your life.
That's amazing. When you're talking about this, how, you win the morning, you win the day, and of course these ancient best practices to do in the morning and stuff, it really made me think for the first time, isn't a day sort of a microcosm of your life? Isn't a day a mini life? You have darkness in the beginning, and then you wake up and you have evolution, and you get tired towards the end, and then you retire in the evening and rest. And when you start your day with these wonderful things, it's almost like someone having a loving, well-educated, adjusted, really good upbringing. And so, of course, the rest of your life /day is going to is going to be according to that, right?
Well, you're absolutely right. Yes, you're absolutely right, Norm. And that's what I remember. I used to say that a lot when I first started doing the Miracle Morning. I go, it's like hitting the reset button every day.
Yeah.
Meaning, let's say you do have a bad day, right? You have a stressful day. You get some bad news. Maybe you lose a loved one. Maybe if something goes bad at work, you lose a client, whatever. Well, most of us, think about this. Most of us go to bed anxious and stressed out about whatever happened that day. And usually our first thought in the morning is the same as our last thought before we went to bed. So we go to bed anxious and stressed, and we wake up immediately go, oh God, I've got to face the day again. I've got to face the problem. I've got to deal with these emotions that I'm facing. When I started doing the Miracle Morning, keep in mind, my circumstances were still the worst they had ever been.
Yeah.
But every night, I didn't go to bed stressed on my circumstances. I went to bed thinking about the Miracle Morning, thinking, oh, I can't wait to just wake up and have that space to meditate and to journal and to read. Right? And then I woke up and my first thought wasn't, oh, I got to face my day. It's, I get to go in my living room and drink my tea and sit peacefully.
Yeah.
That is a gift that is, to me, is priceless.
Oh, that's awesome. Like you're saying, it's like a reset. And Hal, unbelievable podcast here, unbelievable words of wisdom from you. And I know you're on a tight time schedule. You have to get a flight to London. So each to wrap it up, each person on the podcast, interviewer, I asked them 3 questions that I sort of custom pick. So I have 3 doozies for you if you're ready.
I love it.
First one is very important, probably the most important thing we'll talk about today. You're on stage doing karaoke. What rap song do you do?
Oh, that's easy. The Humpty Dance. I do it all the time.
Wonderful, man. I think I've actually seen some sort of post about that. I know you're a big...
Yeah, we do it at our mastermind. We do a karaoke party every time, and there's always some of our mastermind members that film it and put it on Facebook, and yeah.
Oh my God, funny. Well, Shock G actually wrote the foreword to one of my books, so if you want me to connect them, maybe a good goal is you guys do it together on stage one day, huh?
Dude, please connect us. That's a dream come true, man. I would love that.
All right, here's one that's a little bit more gravity to it. What do you want people to say about you when you're gone? What's your legacy?
That my life was dedicated to helping to bring out the best in other people and to make their life better.
Beautiful. And you're definitely doing that, brother. And the last question before you head off to the airport, super appreciate your time. What is a goal so big that you haven't even thought about it yet?
Oh, man. Well, once I made my goal to elevate the consciousness of humanity one person at a time, gosh, now I don't know. I don't know what's bigger than that. So goals.
I think you're doing all right, yeah.
Give me a second to think on it. Yeah.
I don't think it gets much bigger than that, though.
I know. I'm trying to think as big as I can. Well, I've thought about all of them. So, I'll tell you another one that is not public. That actually I think contributed to my anxiety and stress I've been feeling the last few months is to kind of to solve every problem that humanity faces.
Yeah.
That is something that I had an epiphany in a meditation recently, that as I've got this platform and I'm reaching millions of people in all these languages, that I have a unique ability to, not that I can solve every problem. I'm not that smart, period. But I do know a lot of smart people, and I've got this platform. So for me, and right now I've realized that I need to take next year and focus on my physical health as I'm transitioning off of chemo, and I'm going holistic. Yeah. I need to focus on my health, my mental, physical, and emotional health this year. But my big picture goal after that is to form a conscious alliance of people who each have their own unique missions and talents and platforms and communities, and really ask ourselves, what are the problems humanity's facing, from depression and suicide to plastic and garbage, to climate change, to prescription drugs, to cancer, and literally, what do we need to do to solve every problem that humanity is facing? So that's the big one that I don't even, I started focusing on it so much that I got overwhelmed and stressed out, and I think, it was a little too much at this stage in my journey. So I'm setting it on the side. I'm focusing on my health for the next year, but I will pick that back up, and that is a goal of mine.
Hey, brother, I think you're already working on it, whether you realize it or not. So, real talk, man, I appreciate you. You're doing some amazing things to help people. I'm a big fan as well as your friend. So much love and support. Thank you so much, Hal Elrod.
Thank you, Norm. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, safe travels, and we'll talk soon, huh?
Hey, that was great, man. Thanks for bringing out the best of me.
You got it, my man. Take care.